That's it. The research has been done and it's been confirmed. Girls don't like ugly video game characters either. And this should be a simple thing to actually confirm, but it really took an Ohio University communications research study to confirm what we all knew as gamers, that gamers just like pretty designs and attractive and appealing characters. And this is just not contained to male gamers. It's now being confirmed female gamers like this as well. And I think this is what we've been expecting to see from any research study if they did an in-depth look in what gamers actually like in the gaming market. This has been confirmed in marketing programs and overall studies when it comes to the appeal of products, whether it's regarding male or female gender. It always goes down to what is attractive and appealing to the eye. And of course, beautiful designs are always attractive, and I think that's the essential thing that we're seeing here being confirmed in a psychological study from Ohio State University Communication Research published journal, where they had a study looking over the effects of these designs that are hyper attractive and hyper appealing to the male and female gender. And this is just one of many research studies that have come out to confirm this, and this came out in September 10th 2024, and we're getting the feedback from the journal where it's looking at the overall case studies relating to choice when it comes to over appealing attractive characters in gaming, specifically female characters. They did this study with over 250 participants from Ohio University, and they gained a large sample size of what people like to choose when they play video games, specifically fighting video games, and what their reaction is after choosing that character in relation to their tendency of what type of character they choose. So they usually present a fighting game like Tekken, like Street Fighter, with highly attractive female characters in full display in association with all the other male characters that are there as well. And they look at the male participants, who they tend to choose and how they feel about choosing that character, and what that says about their overall philosophy and overall tendencies in relation to that. And this study was pretty in-depth, going over the opinions of the people choosing characters within these games. I think within the study you get a lot of female participants that are choosing Chun-Li, Mai, and all these other type of characters that are very hyper attractive and appealing, and it's going against the portrayal and prediction that a lot of female gamers would be adverse to choosing highly attractive and appealing looking female characters, and that is just the opposite. All of them chose the highly attractive, appealing characters way more than the men. Men were surprisingly looked at as choosing less attractive female characters and looking for stronger characters in general that had a more imposing look and appeal to them. And I think that is the dramatic thing that we're seeing in this study, where it was trying to make this bias where male gamers are obsessed with attractive female characters, and they got the opposite reaction, where they saw the male participants weren't that interested in the female characters. They chose the strongest character in general, whether it's male or female, and it didn't matter how they look. But when it came to the looks of the characters, a lot of the female gamers chose the highly attractive characters, showing that they're more concerned with the looks of the female characters than the male counterparts within the study. And I think that's a surprising thing for the researchers doing this study, where they were expecting that the males would just choose the highly attractive characters. But when you're playing a fighting game, you're thinking about fighting as a character, and you're usually looking for a representative of yourself to some degree. It doesn't matter race or gender or anything. You just want to look for someone strong that you can win with. And I think that's the essential thing that we're seeing here with the difference between male gamers and female gamers when they're choosing these particular characters. And that's the thing from this study that we're getting, even though their own purpose for this study was to see how the overt attractiveness of a lot of the female characters is something inherent in games and that needs to be changed. And that was the preface and the abstract for the study, to find out how men are engaging in these overtly attractive female characters and how these female gamers are offended by these overtly attractive female characters. And it's the opposite reaction that they got, where most male gamers didn't even choose the overtly attractive female characters. They went towards the male characters or the overtly strong female characters. And I think that's the thing that we're seeing play out in a lot of studies coming out, where you just know people like attractive things to look at. And I think that is the biggest thing that's missing nowadays in the video gaming industry, as it gets inundated with highly unattractive characters, where they're following these bogus studies that came out 10 years ago because we had a highly politicized environment that wanted to rein back in a lot of the attractive looking characters, blaming them for the sensitivities of a lot of women within society that were comparing themselves to these overtly attractive designs that are coming out from the modeling industry and the video gaming industry and entertainment in general. And I think that blame came down on the video gaming industry in such a way where we're getting so much ugly designs of so many different characters that gamers are just pushing back and not buying the games with these type of character designs. And I think that's the main thing that is frustrating for gamers nowadays, where we're just getting overtly unattractive, unappealing designs, and it's pushing everyone away from gaming, where a lot of these games and titles that are coming up with this overtly unattractive design now are losing hundreds of millions of dollars and bankrupting many studios within the Western games development sphere. And you're seeing the opposite happen in the Eastern games development sphere, where they're sticking to basic marketing 101, where you have attractive and appealing looking characters that will bring in engagement and the overall fan base. And I think that's the thing that is happening in Korea, Japan, and China, where they're making hundreds of billions of dollars while the West is losing hundreds of billions of dollars because they're making games that are just not appealing to the market anymore. They're making games based on their own politicized ideation of what should be in gaming rather than what the gamers actually want from a video game. And this is leading to a lot of these studies coming out where they're realizing, oh, women like attractive, appealing female characters as well, and that makes perfect sense. Who wants to be an uglier version of themselves in a fantastical place that a video gaming property is supposed to be? And I think that's the thing that is reflecting back in this study most of all. Even though when some of these female participants chose these over attractive characters, they complained about it, saying this is super unrealistic design and they didn't like it, but they tended to choose them anyways, regardless of how they felt, because that's the character design that they were attracted to. So it just makes sense in that way, where most people were attracted to these designs, and that design is actually engaging the fan base more than the uglier designs, where you have some of these ugly designs within the study and no one's choosing them. No one wants to play as those characters. And I think that's the essential thing you'll see within the research studies, where a lot of male participants chose stronger characters. They avoided weak looking characters. And it shows the difference in psychology between male and female gamers, where male gamers are looking just for strength and of course attractive looks, and then you have a lot of female characters looking for attractive looking players to play as. And I think that's the obvious thing this study is showing, where gamers just like the fantastical properties that they find in video games, whether it's relating to the strength or the attractiveness of the character. They just want something that is outside of their reality. And that's the unfortunate thing with modern day gaming, where they try to drag you back into reality with the ugly looks and appeal of a lot of the characters that they're developing for these AAA titles. So you can't be mad at game players when they are adverse to choosing your video game or purchasing your video game. And I think that's what's happening in the Western games development sphere, where gamers are just stepping away from a lot of big title games, AAA title games that are just producing content that is not in line with the power fantasy that they want to see in their video game and with the beauty fantasy that they want to see in their game as well. And this is alienating both male and female gamers. And I think that is the dynamic that is sprouting within the gaming industry itself, where there's an overt attempt to disempower a lot of the male video game icons that we've been seeing in the past, where we're replacing them with a lot of these female oriented characters, or we're just making these characters that were supposed to be strong symbols of male representative characters in video games and just breaking them down or replacing them and just erasing them from their own franchises. And I think that's the thing that is destroying the Western games development sphere, where you're just stripping away the things people play games for, power fantasies and beauty fantasies, and stripping those things down and replacing them with ugliness and weak men. That is just not the thing gamers are there to play for. And we're really seeing this play out in the video gaming industry as a whole, where there's an impact of strength and interactivity in the gameplay that this research obviously finds, where gamers want to see strength in their characters. And I think that's the biggest find in this research, where they're saying male gamers want to have strength in their characters, female gamers want to have a beauty fantasy in their characters. And this dynamic is playing out within the modern gaming space, where things that are absent of strength and beauty fantasies are losing out in the gaming industry. You can see in the most recent titles that have come out, like Concord, where most of the men are weak in this game, along with an ugly slate of women to play as. The same thing could be said with Dustborn, where most of the men in this game were effeminate and most of the women didn't have high beauty standards. Same thing could be said for Flintlock, and so on and so forth, where these games are failing epically with low player counts, and it's just getting the attention it deserves because it's not fulfilling the contract between between gamers and the developers, where you're giving gamers a power fantasy or a beauty fantasy, and these things are absent in the gaming industry as a whole, at least in the Western games development sphere. In the Eastern games development sphere, the opposite could be said true, and that's why the sphere of gaming is highly successful and garnering massive support from a player base that is actively engaging in all the games coming out from this industry. But this is just a situation I see in the industry, and it's fun to see a study confirm that what we all wanted from games was the most obvious thing that we already knew, which was power fantasies for the men and of course beauty fantasies for the ladies. And to see this kind of illustrated into a study is a beautiful thing to see, at least if you're a gamer that you always knew this was the case, and to see that confirmed is always a positive thing. But tell me what you think about the situation. What do you think about gamer girls not liking ugly characters either? I think that is the most obvious thing, but it seems like it's a hard thing for game developers to actually accept. But will they accept this after reading this study? Who knows? But you leave a comment, tell me what you think. Like, comment, share, subscribe. This is Wagner Knows Why. Catch you next time.